Good evening, everybody, or good morning, good day, good night, good tomorrow, wherever you are in the world. I'm Dadman Walking 55, coming to you with, sadly, our last regular season week of SEC College Football Weekly. Man, it's amazing how 13 weeks fly by in such a hurry. It has been a blast. It has been fun. We've had all kinds of amazing guests, great times in the chat. It's been a very interesting season over the 13 weeks. Looking back, some of the teams have gotten where we expected them to be. Some have surprised us and been even better. Some have just been bad, falling off the face of the planet by their standards. We got some new leaders. And then we got some teams that just don't even know what the heck they are, like the Florida Gators. So anyway, folks, it's been a blast. Thank you for being here with us all these weeks. We have a little bit more coming up in the next few weeks, over the next month, into the playoffs and to the championship game for the college football playoffs. So stick with us. Let's have more fun along the way. We'll do some different things and see where this goes with us. It's been an adventure, as I say, and I mentioned that how we've had so many different guests and all. I've got to say, this 13th week, our guest knocks it out of the park. Wonderful creator, human being, one of the greatest people I've had an opportunity to meet here in YouTube land, and started off following the show, got to meet, and then invited on to her show. And then now finally I get the honor of her presence on this show to talk about football. This is Florida State week, folks. This is a big game in the state of Florida. So why not? Who should be here? None other than the Queen of Florida herself, the great Lorena Creole. Hello, Lorena.
Hello, Dadman. Thank you so much for that very, very generous intro. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here. I mean, how many times do you get to talk football?
Hardly ever, really.
That's
so
crazy.
This is nice.
Oh, yeah. Well, welcome. I mean, I don't even contemplate any other sports, which could get scary down the road, but have to start somewhere first where you're comfortable, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's start off. I mean, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Kind of about who you are, how you got into YouTubing, how you started, and kind of where you are these days.
Well, let's see. I got into YouTubing because I was peer pressured. That is actually a true story.
Wow. Okay.
I actually started out in the Dark Council chat. So I would drop into the chat and I would say things to throw the guys off track. I'd talk to members, in the chat, and then eventually people invited me to come on their stream. So I was very happy just crashing their streams and just being an avatar like you see right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't really comfortable showing what I looked like. I just really wasn't at the time. So I'd jump on streams and talk. And then eventually people started asking me, well, when are you going to start a channel? When are you going to start a channel? I'm like, why do I have to start a channel? Why? Oh, when are you going to start a channel? And then I had people start following me on my YouTube account, and I had no content on my channel. I'm like, that's nuts. So people kept asking me, and all kinds of shows that that I would go on, people would just keep asking me. Especially Dark Council guys are like, when are you going to start a channel? I'm like, okay, fine. I'll think about it. But first, Abu Nas did a ladies' night show, and that's when I actually revealed my face. Mark with the C kind of piled on and said, "Are we going to see your face?" I'm like, okay, well, I guess I got to show my face now. Everybody's looking for it. So that's when people got to see my face. And then to finally say, okay, fine, you guys are going to leave me alone when I start a channel. So I started a channel. So I started my channel, I want to say about a year and a half ago. No, not a year and a half ago, excuse me, 2.5 years ago. And my first video is up there. I love having that video up there because it shows me just how I started. Everybody's got to start somewhere. And you don't worry about being perfect because it's going to be cringe anyway because
Yeah.
you
Oh,
learn so many different things as you go along. So it's been two and a half fun, amazing years. I always feel like I'm behind the eight ball because some people have been doing this for like 10 years. I
mhm,
haven't been doing it that long, so I always feel like I'm playing catch up, but I think I'm finally starting to get to a place where I can kind of organize all of this YouTube stuff and try to get more content out there, try to do more things for my members, reaching into other areas of content that maybe some other channels don't do. Like, I love South Korean television and movies. I love Indian movies. I love anime, and wrap that up with pop culture and the theme parks and
mhm,
shopping. And I'm just having a good time. So my channel, it's like literally a network of channels
mhm,
now. So I have like the main pop culture channel, which you guys see. I actually have a live archive channel, which has cobwebs on it. So I need to go blow the
yeah,
cobwebs off. Thanks
yeah,
to CJ saying, you probably need to, I probably need to start putting stuff back on that channel. And then, of course, there's my lifestyle channel that I've been putting together, which has all of the, shopping stuff, the window shopping stuff. Ooh, look at this. I took pictures because I can't afford to buy that sort of
yeah.
thing.
Oh, I want to
Shopping.
go there and buy stuff, or I want to eat that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to buy this. I want to eat that. Some of it I buy, some of it I eat. But I just like to take pictures of things
Mhm,
things that I see, shows that are out at Disney. Um, that's kind of what that channel is. So I'm
yeah.
starting to level up.
It's quite interesting there. Let me real quick say hi to Geeky. Hi, Geeky. Glad you could stop by tonight for however long you can. And of course,
Hello.
Mrs. Is right there with you about the Asian programs. I mean,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
so addicted. I watched a South Korean soap opera called what is she doesn't have to know, or she never has to know,
Hmm.
and it's about the beauty business and this dude who falls in love with his trainer, but
Hmm.
she's actually engaged.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Oh man.
Ah, that
I
is
oh
crazy.
it was good. It was good. I was hooked. I was so sad when it was over.
Well,
But I gotta find a new one.
I like to deny it and I like to fight it and stuff, but I've gotten sucked into some of her shows. It's like there's some about it that just seems to be better written, better acted than most of the American shows. They hook me in really quickly, and I'm shocked. I mean, I deny it, say no, 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 but then next thing I'm watching it. So, but hey, but yeah, absolutely. I know you got company out there, Lorena. So. Well, and I was looking back. Actually, with your channel, I looked back at my membership. It's been a year and 8 months.
Wow.
Yes, yes, and that has been amazing to have met you. And I encourage people to check your channel out too, because your family lineage and stuff, the other stuff, the historical stuff you do, is fascinating for people to check out if you're into that, into things in the history of Florida. It really is.
Thank you. Because
Yeah.
I may, it's in the planning stages. I may actually start launching another channel that has nothing but genealogy stuff on it, things about my family,
Hmm.
um, tips to help people out. That's like kind of like that's a project that's on the drawing board, but eventually I'm going to have to do it because Genealogy is the perfect thing for somebody who is retired with no job
Yeah.
to do, and I need to do it in kind of like in short little bites. And since I'm used to doing things on YouTube, I'm like, that's probably going to be the only way that I'm going to
Yeah.
be able to do it.
Yeah, even a small channel like this with the football stuff takes up so much time of working a normal job. There's stuff with history I want to do, but you got to organize it and plan it and get it set up
Yeah.
to do it right, and it just takes time. So, and Mrs. Can says she can recommend some awesome dramas if you want.
Yes, please.
Absolutely. Well, and also looking back to how long we connected in your chat with that. But the oddest thing, and for people out here, whether you watch it later or if you're here live or you're lurking or whatever, what the biggest funny, I think the thing that really made a connection was us. And I know you're going to laugh, and where we're going with this one, just a silly small town in north central Florida called Palatka.
Yes.
The likelihood of somebody, you're famous streamer up there, and me down here, and then somehow come out and we connect. A lot of runnings and going on through the town of Palatka. Isn't that amazing?
It is hilarious, and it is amazing because for folks out there who do not know, I mean, a lot of folks out there think that the only thing that Florida consists of is Disney World in Miami. And that's not the case. There's plenty of other little towns in between, especially this little town on the St. Johns River in Northeast Florida. About 55 miles or so from Jacksonville, called Palatka, a town that I would go spend summers with my grandparents. I'd spend like some time with my grandparents in Jacksonville, and I'd spend some time with my grandparents in Palatka, and that was like no civilization there.
Nope, I know. That's like, even a couple years ago when I had to stay over at night for work, I was like, you better have dinner by 9 o'clock because everything was gone. Everything was
shut down. They're like, we forget it. We do not stay up past that point in time. Yeah, you blink and you go through it. If you're coming from East Palatka, first you have to smell Rice Creek before you see it, and then go over the bridge to get to Palatka. It is such this little town. I tell people it's a rest stop on the way to University of Florida.
Yep, that's about the truth of it, But hey, it's just thinking this statistical probability of two strangers meeting and then having a connection of some little town like that. That's always what struck with me too. And the stories keep getting better because, I'm just amazed we don't have more Florida man stories out of Putnam County. But
I'm surprised. I think it just gets beat out by all the other counties because it's too close to Duval.
Yes.
And Duval has its own crazy.
I know, and even then, Duval's not getting into many stories on the show like Pinellas,
Pinellas, Pasco, yeah.
So, but yeah, it is definitely an awesome thing, and it's been great having that connection. And I encourage everybody to check your channel out too as they go along and get a chance to see the Sunday show, because currently you've invited me on. We're doing the EFAP of the Disney Fast Pass. This week we're off because of the holiday, but that's last Sunday we covered 5 minutes in about an hour and a half. So it's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, we are having a blast.
Yeah. So hey, Lorena, how about we get into some football? How's that sound?
That sounds wonderful. Let's do that.
Alrighty. Well, we're going to start like we do every week, is talk about what we don't do. We're not a gambling site. We just come here to talk football with friends and throw stuff out there and have fun with it. We don't pick with points, whatever. And honestly, some of the weeks I've been so bad, hey, it's your own fault if you try to rely on me for your gambling habits. So don't do it. So, but that's it. So, and we'll move off into the first. We'll recap last week's games, which we will do this carte blanche en masse here in taking out 6 games at one time, because we call these the paycheck games. which are the little schools come in to get slaughtered, but they get a six-figure check or maybe even $1 million at this point. What you have is LSU beat UAB 41-10. Bama beats Austin Peay 34-0. Mississippi State 56-7 over East Tennessee State. The struggle game of the week was Texas A&M again. Had been a struggle all season for them to score, but they did beat a 1-9 UMass team 20-3. Auburn wins again against Western Kentucky 41-17, and Missouri beats New Mexico State 45-14. Anything on any of those games, Lorena?
Oh, let's see. UAB at LSU. Yeah. Wow. Let me see. Yeah. I'm taking a look down here. 41. Dang. Ow. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. Although East Tennessee getting beat by Mississippi State. Ow, that's even. Oh,
yeah,
that's bad.
Actually, UMass hung with A&M. It was only 10-3 at halftime, but
Oh, Yankees hung in there. Okay.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, but we'll look at Texas A&M a little bit more after when we get to the SEC standings, because they have definitely had a rough year. So, all right. Well, we shall move on to the 4 games from last week. We will take a brief look at.
Okay.
First, it was number 1. Georgia was in action on the road at Kentucky. Actually, let me stop real quickly and say hello to E. Clay Thomason. Hey, thank you for being here for the first time. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Yes. And Jess, SPD girl. Hey, thank you for loading links for me. Jess is one of our mods here. Does a great job too. Thank you.
Mods are awesome.
And that reminds me too, we are here on YouTube and on Twitch. If you follow us on the Twitch side, and if you are on the YouTube side, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll talk a little bit about what we do. We do more than just football, though. So here we go with Georgia, Kentucky. Georgia outlasts Kentucky 16-6. A game that got a little bit close in the fourth quarter. With a couple of long passes by Tennessee. Got Tennessee on the brain this week, but Kentucky. That Tennessee game was a really crazy game, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Statistically, about an average game for both teams. Stetson Bennett for Georgia was 13 of 19 passing for 116 yards through 1 interception. Kenny McIntosh was the bulk of the Georgia offense for 19 carries for 143 yards, had a touchdown on the ground. Will Levis for Kentucky was 20 of 31 passing for 206 yards, a touchdown and an interception, while Barian Brown for Kentucky had 10 catches for 145 yards and a touchdown on the game. Like the time of possession, pretty even. It was pretty solid, a Georgia game. They just didn't score as much, but Kentucky has all year had a very stout defense. The problem with Kentucky has been able to score points. But if you remember back early in the year, they beat Florida in Gainesville with basically two pick sixes.
Yeah. I'm so salty about that.
Oh, yes. Let the salt flow, because we're going to get even saltier as this
goes. Man.
Oh, daggum Gator. I mean, I'll talk about Florida later, because it truly is one of those things. So, and Mr. says, I was surprised Georgia did not score more. Yes, I was, but I think weather, and you got to credit the Kentucky defense. They were really, really good. That's been one bright side for that team all year. The only breakdown they had was against Tennessee when they lost 44-6. And then Geeky says Georgia was sandbagging. Gavel's gone down. Don't know who they were, but that just seems low for Georgia. It definitely was low for Georgia. It was definitely a low point for Georgia. But then again, any time you win in the Southeastern Conference, it's a good thing. Win's a win. So, any other thoughts on that, Lorena?
I'm glad Georgia wound up winning this one.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw it, but a few weeks ago I had some pictures. That my oldest goes to the University of Georgia now. Her student ticket package that she just bought by chance, that apparently signed the games, gave her a ticket to the Georgia Tennessee game. And she was right on the side right by the Kentucky fans, but she had a beautiful angle. You couldn't have paid, it was a beautiful.
Wow.
And I was like, why didn't you ask your dad to go? But yeah, nope. Didn't get an invite. So, but anyway, there's Georgia, and we'll talk more about what Georgia finishes in a moment. I don't know. This probably was more of a surprise than the other surprise that we're going to talk about in a minute. But Tennessee goes on the road and gets slaughtered by South Carolina, 63-38. Watching that game, I think Tennessee stopped Carolina maybe once, maybe twice to force punts. But Carolina scored 9 touchdowns in the game, amassing over 600 yards against a volunteer defense, holding the ball at a 2-to-1 ratio. Spencer Rattler, who has been transferred from Oklahoma, Gator fans will remember him a couple years ago in a bowl game that tortured him, had his best game by far this year, 30-37 passing for 438 yards and 6 touchdowns. Jaheim Bell for USC had 17 carries for 82 yards, while Antoine Wells had 11 catches for 177 yards for the Gamecocks. Hendon Hooker was 25 of 42 passing for 247 yards with 3 touchdowns for Tennessee, but got hurt in the game and is now out for the year with a torn ACL. This guy's become a fan favorite. We came across the name a few weeks ago, but Squirrel White for Tennessee. I love that name, Squirrel. Yeah, that fits Tennessee, I think. 5 catches for 96 yards. And Cedric Tillman had 9 catches for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Tennessee had been talking about playoffs and all that leading up to this game. And unfortunately, listening to the sports radio up there, nobody up there took Carolina seriously this week. And that's usually what has happened, Lorena. I know when I've seen it, maybe you've seen it before. When people get overconfident, they come crashing hard.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Yep, it was the biggest mystery of that game was watching it live and just kept thinking, when is Tennessee going to stop them? And they didn't. And our resident, let's see, hold on, there we go. Yep, our resident Tennessee fan. This was hard for them.
Ooh.
Yeah, I actually felt sorry for them. Do you think they looked ahead and did not have the head? That is always possible in a game like this. I don't know that the head coach may have, but maybe the players. But they picked the wrong night. That was a hornet's nest at 7:30 at night in South Carolina. That stadium was rocking, was loud.
Ooh.
And, you get a loud stadium like that, and once it starts to snowball, it can get out of control very quickly. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move on to the next game. We got Ole Miss and Arkansas. Arkansas wins that game 42-27. But what's deceptive here is you look at the statistics. Ole Miss had more offense.
Mm-hmm.
Time of possession was even, but 3 turnovers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's not good.
No, you would think that it'd be flipped. The score would be flipped, but so many times yards don't matter. I mean, but that 3 big turnovers. KJ Jefferson for Arkansas was 17 of 22 passing for 168 yards, 3 touchdowns. Raheem Sanders for Arkansas, 24 carries for 232 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jackson Dart for Ole Miss was 21 of 36 passing, 240 yards, touchdown and an interception, while Quinshon Judkins for Ole Miss had 24 carries, 214 yards, and a touchdown. Zach Evans for Ole Miss also rushed for 207 yards on 17 carries and a touchdown. Look at that. I mean, 2 running backs over 200 yards, over 400 yards rushing, and yet you still lose a game. It's just really incredible.
It is, but it's just like, man, those turnovers, they can wind up making the difference. So you try not to have those. It's
Yeah,
like shooting yourself in the foot when those happen.
absolutely. Absolutely. And let's see what the chat is. Okay, we have Vandy last. That should be an easy game.
Game.
Yeah, yeah. And I love Mrs. Response. Tell that to Florida.
Yeah. Oh man.
Speaking of which,
Can't.
you two,
I
Geeky and
can't.
Mrs. Y'all gave us a perfect segue into this
Oh, this
monstrosity.
this just oh, this made me so angry.
Well, tell us. Years ago, I'd probably been throwing stuff around the house, but I was calm this year. How angry were you, Lorena?
I had to walk away from Twitter for a while, and uh, not only that, but I almost washed my University of Florida shirt with bleach. This is just how annoyed I was at this game. I was like, you lose to Vanderbilt?
Absolutely.
Really? Vanderbilt?
Well, Florida had like it's the first time Vandy has won since 2013. The first time that they've won over the Gators since 1988. And let me see back to my notes from last week. The Gators have won 30 of the last 31 games. I mean, Florida has struggled up there at times, even Team Tebow teams and stuff. They've always had some times of struggling up at Vanderbilt, but I know I'm like walk away.
Well,
and
aim right.
You got to give Vandy credit though this year. When we look at the standings, we'll see how much Vandy is a team that had not won a conference game, an SEC game, since 2019 until the previous week. They've gone over 2 years without winning a game in the conference. They won 2 games last year and were looked to be on an equal track this year. But hey, they've done some. But what's really bad is you look how anemic Vanderbilt's offensive numbers really are. Because when I was watching the game, it did not seem like they only had 280 yards. I mean, but if you look at this, Florida's got all the yardage. And Mike Wright was 10 of 16, 108 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw a pick late. Vanderbilt, Ray Davis, 30 carries for 122 yards. Anthony Richardson did have a good throwing day for once, 25 of 42 for 400 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. And Dejon Reynolds for the Gators, 8 catches for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. But if you look at in this game, the Florida running yards, 45 yards. Vanderbilt did a good job to shut down the Gator offense and apparently threw them completely out of whack this week. And, Lorena, being a Gator fan, it's really, really frustrating this year. It's like you don't know what you get from week to week.
It's extremely frustrating. I mean, even so, for me, since I've been up north for quite a while, and the college football that I kind of had to watch or that I was tuned into while I was up there was my other alma mater, Penn State. But let's face it, there's nothing like an SEC football game, at all. So I loved watching Florida just doing their thing while I was up north. Now that I'm down here, I'm really into it now.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a little depressing. It's like, come on, y'all, really? Oh, it's hard, but it's like, hey, it's like I'm always gonna be a University of Florida fan, but daggone it, it's really tough this year.
Well, I actually liked Dan Mullen, the previous coach, and he had done well, and they were doing stuff. But then it was, I don't know if you remember, in 2020, all the season was all messed up. They made LSU Florida play in December instead of regular because that thing that people don't like to talk about came up and forced the game to be rescheduled. Well, LSU got healthy. Florida struggled, was number 6, couldn't put them away. And then they finally were tied. And about a couple minutes left in the game, Florida finally stopped LSU on offense. But the defensive back decided to take the LSU receiver's shoe off and fling it 30 yards downfield. course, 15-yard penalty. LSU kicks a 50-plus yard field goal. LSU wins the game. And so it seemed like since then, after it just was straight downhill like last year, it just was just a rough season. And then they fire Dan Mullen. They bring in Billy Napier from Louisiana, which I've been very critical of on here because I don't know that he's capable of coaching at this level. I mean, I got family telling me be patient, but I'm, as I get older, I don't have time to be patient. When you sit here and watch a team like Tennessee or Georgia, they changed to Kirby Smart, to Josh Heupel. They had a rocky first year, but not bad. And then the second year, they get a lot better. Well, this Florida team has been like, I hate to use the word schizophrenic, but it really is true because from one week to the next, either one week they're running the ball well and not throwing, or next week they're throwing them, but not, you don't know what it's like they don't know what they want to be. And I think a lot of that comes from the coaching, especially the way you call the game. And Anthony Richardson, the Gator quarterback, has been described as a Cam Newton type quarterback, but many times they don't design running like you would see Cam Newton and other quarterbacks. So it's going to be a fun year next year and see what we get. See if there is actually improvement for Gator fans.
I hope so. Shoot, because this is depressing.
Well, I remind people as Gator fans how Georgia. You're so young, you may not remember this, but back in the late 70s, early 80s, the Gators could never beat Georgia. So the saying was always, wait till next year. So let's wait till next year and see what happens.
Oh, man.
I was so sorry I had to deal with that with Georgia every year. But anyway, congrats to Vanderbilt again. We'll look at the standings and see. But both teams had 2 turnovers, and you got to give them a credit for that. For a team coming in with no expectations, they played a dang good game. And here's where we stand overall in the Southeastern Conference. As we know that Georgia and LSU will meet up a week from Saturday in Atlanta in the conference championship game, regardless if LSU loses this week or not. And then all that will remain is to see who goes to what bowl games after that. You got Carolina with their win managed to end up 3rd in the conference this year, while Kentucky and Florida sat in the middle of the pack, barely ahead of Vanderbilt and Missouri. There's Alabama's. It's interesting to see Alabama not on top spot for once. But you got the Mississippi teams in the middle. Arkansas was disappointing this year. The Auburn's not last in the Western Division. So, but the big shocker, Lorena, was Texas A&M down there. You remember Jimbo Fisher? You remember Jimbo Fisher from Florida State?
I think I remember.
Yeah, he replaced Bobby Bowden. Well, he left Florida State, took the job at Texas A&M. They ran off the previous coach. The big booster stuff, the buyouts, and all this expensive money on Jimbo Fisher, and to get that, they were projected to finish 2nd by the media in the West. They beat Alabama last year, came close to beating Alabama this year, but 1-6 in the conference, 4-7 overall. That's not good for your job prospects at a school like that with that kind of pressure. Because when they spend the millions of dollars to get rid of the other guy, yeah, and there you go.
That's funny, Mrs. Danny.
Exactly. That's the same thing I had with Vanderbilt 2 weeks ago. I expected Vanderbilt was going to win. No, they didn't. It's against South Carolina of all teams, but hey. Oh man, so that's where things stand in the Southeastern Conference as of now. So Lorena, let's talk about you and your experiences with football.
Okay.
And we'll start with, what is your favorite college team? Obviously, I think we know that is, but go ahead and talk about that and how you became a fan.
Well, let's see. I have been a fan of football ever since I was a cheerleader in middle school, actually. I had to actually learn the game to make sure that we were actually doing the right cheers. I mean, you don't want to do an offensive cheer when your team is on defense. You don't want to do that. So I spent a lot of time studying the game, and a lot of the football players I went to school with. We all had gym classes together, so that was always something that I was into. I also lived around a lot of the football players in high school, so that's kind of like where that started. And then again, of course, I was in Philly, and mostly everybody was a Eagles fan. I really didn't care less because the Raiders were my team.
Hmm.
So the Raiders were my team, and whoever was playing Dallas.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I
Yeah,
won't, I won't tell you I'm a Cowboy fan. So,
yeah.
but
It's okay. I'll allow it. Uh,
there you go. Thank
I'll
you.
allow it. Although the although the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders had those iconic outfits, you cannot get
Yeah.
more American than Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders and their outfits. So in college, I really didn't really get enough time to watch games. I was in engineering. We really did not have a whole lot of downtime, but I would always keep up with with the games, how much our team was or wasn't winning. I did get to go to one game because someone got tickets. That was the other thing. It was hard to get tickets, even
Hmm.
as a student, to go. So when we finally got tickets and we found out how cool it is to hang out when the alumni come into town, because the alumni would give you free food because they would roll in with like the RVs
Hmm.
and and all the tailgating equipment and everything. So they would be there. And professional football, I didn't really. I had my teams, like the Raiders were my team, and then moved to Florida. So yeah, I am a Buccaneers fan because it's nice to actually be in a team that actually won. Although Philadelphia did win one Super Bowl while I lived there, so I will say that they won one. I didn't. I said I'm not going to believe it until they actually win the Super
Yeah.
Bowl. I think that night they were playing, I went to bed and they were losing. I woke up and they were Super Bowl champs. So I got to see like the whole ticker tape parade in Philadelphia. I worked downtown at the time. So I that was fun to be a part of history. And then they proceeded to, lose again the next year.
Right.
Let's see, but for college teams, it's always going to be University of Florida because I've had
Yeah.
so many relatives go to University of Florida. The only reason I didn't wind up, let's see, what was it? No, no, because yeah, University of Florida is no, they are my team. They are my team. So many people in my family have gone to University of Florida, and
Hmm.
they are it. They are my ride or die team.
Yeah. Yeah. Mrs. said it was better to be in the middle of a parade like that downtown. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it was amazing. Philadelphia hadn't won a Super Bowl like ever, and that was the
Yeah.
first one. So to be able to see like all the players and just all that pageantry, and it's like we finally got a parade. And even cooler was the parade went right by the building that I worked in, so that
Mm.
made it even better. They even like catered lunch that day.
Yeah.
It was
You didn't want to go out, I'm sure.
amazing. Oh no. Oh heck to the no. As a matter of fact, I had to take the train, but my train left later in the afternoon
Hmm.
and the parade was, I think, around close to noon. So people were taking public transportation. That place was slammed. So I was glad everyone else went and then I could go.
Yeah. Wow. That is neat. But no way for you to become a Jaguar fan? Why the Bucks?
Oh hell no, nah. Nah. Nah.
Yeah.
I mean they were better than Philly. Almost the same colors as Philly.
I don't know. I two dumb things that they do. That stupid Duval crap,
Yes.
annoying thing. That and the loudest cheers that we ever had when we were there when they played Daggum Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama.
I
Skinner's
can't
not
with
from
the
Alabama.
Jaguars.
Anyway, but it's like, jeez.
What?
But yeah, all the rednecks. So I was like, hey, that's the loudest cheer of the game. That's how bad the football was.
Oh
So,
my
but
gosh.
it's great. Hey, we managed to talk Jags. Hey, that's a rarity.
Yeah,
Hey,
we got that in there.
yeah, we good. So, yeah, and you might have touched briefly on this a little bit, but what about football specifically? College football, do you really like that captures your interest?
What did I like? One, that the games were broadcast on television.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like you kind of got the broadcast vibe that you would see like in the NFL, but it seemed like more of a school atmosphere. So in a way, it was kind of like the best of both worlds,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in a way. So that's one of the reasons why I really, really like college football. Also, college football, you don't really have the money. Well, let's put it this way. Yes, you kind of do have the money because everybody wants to fleece the alumni for money. We all know that.
Yep.
When you have a winning football team, you can ask, not only ask the alumni for more money, but the alumni are usually more willing to give you, give the school money.
Or,
And
or if in Texas A&M's case, they'll throw money at you to get rid of one coach and to bring another coach in.
yeah,
That
yeah,
ends up in last place. So
sometimes it's like that.
I have
But
to take shots at A&M all I can. So
oh, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. It's all right. It's all right. Uh that yeah, it's just, school atmosphere. It's kind of with the television at the same time, and you have people who are playing either because they really, really want to play or because they got a scholarship to play. Either way, it
mhm.
seemed to me like more of a sounds weird, pure atmosphere, so to speak, as opposed to the NFL, which is extremely, extremely commercial. Of course, lots of folks want to play for the NFL. That makes sense. But like I said, it's like especially of late, the NFL now. I mean, it's been years, but it's been on its way to becoming the no fun league that it is now
Yeah.
for quite some time. So there's still the fun that's in college football that I like.
One thing I like better about college is the bands.
Oh yeah, depending on you have the bands.
Mm-hmm.
I always have to make this distinction. If you are going to a football game from between two football teams that are from historically black colleges and universities, people are not going to see the football players. They
Right.
are
Oh
going to
yeah.
see the band at halftime.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, FAMU was famous for their band. Saw them a few times over the years. I just,
Yeah.
but you know what? The bad trend there in college stadiums is they keep playing that piped in pop, that stereo music in instead of letting the bands play all the time. It's just to me that's a difference. The more mic music you have, you're taking away
Hmm.
from what made college football really good. Let me say hi to Liam Graywolf. Okay.
Hello.
They don't play anymore, I guess is the short answer. But hey, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. And yes, their bands rock, definitely. So in terms of specific games, are there any specific games that you really have? Oh, here, if he finished the joke, they become referees.
I heard that one before.
Especially in the
That's funny.
Southeastern Conference, Liam. You do not know how appropriate that joke is for officiating
Oh.
in the Southeastern Conference. So, oh my gosh. But yeah. Are there any particular games that stand out to you that you either watched on TV or probably more so that you were in person to watch?
Wow, that's a good question because I haven't been able to watch football
Well, I mean, back when you're in
as
college,
much, but
if there's
college.
or even pro games. See, like I remember games from when I was a kid when I went with my dad to think games like that,
Hmm.
uh, with memories like that. One of my favorite ones is we had a bowl game here that was in December at night against Iowa. The Gators played against Iowa. It was so flipping cold. Pipes were starting to freeze in the stadium and stuff like that, which is rare down here, But it was so cold. But I wore thermals and stuff. I had to hear for weeks afterwards about my dad and his butt still freezing because he wore the silky thin underwear my mom gave us for Christmas that year with a pair of pants. He didn't layer or anything. So
Mhm.
that was just one of the memories that I had with that, was my dad complaining the whole time with it. But is there anything that stands out at you, like that you were?
Um, actually there's one now that I remember it. When I basically had my two alma maters playing each other, it was
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Penn State versus University of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You had two. Well, okay, I'm not going to get into the Penn State coach. Y'all can go and look up what happened
Yeah.
with him eventually. But then you had Steve Spurrier.
Oh yeah.
And you know what the joke is, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between God and Steve Spurrier? God doesn't think he's Steve Spurrier.
Yeah.
But even so, I remember watching that game and getting so many phone calls because people are like, "Who you rooting for? Who you rooting for? Who you rooting for?" I'm like, "I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not even going to tell you till the game is over." I thoroughly enjoyed that game
Mm-hmm.
because I really it's they were both my teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to me, it all boiled down to yeah, I was freezing in Penn State. I don't want to go back there. So I was glad that University of Florida won that game, and a lot of the Penn State players were happy because they got to play in Orlando. There was
Mm-hmm.
the Orange Bowl, so they were nice and warm and just hanging out. And I got to catch up with some former friends of mine or classmates of mine who actually came down for the game, because that was the other thing, because they were calling me, where do we stay, can we
Uh-huh.
crash at your house? I said no, because it's already filled up with people already or sharing
Yeah.
a couch. So that was a fun game for a whole lot of reasons.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I think I remember that game. That was Steve Spurrier made football fun. You know.
He sure did.
He sure did. I don't think Geeky Man I still may not be out there, but she and I talked before about Steve Spurrier and the visor tossing and stuff. And when Nick Saban had a meltdown a few weeks ago, it reminded her of the Steve Spurrier sideline visor tossing. But you know what I love with Steve Spurrier, which I don't. I mean, I kind of like with Dan Mullen, but I think we dumped too early on him because of a few bad things, and maybe he didn't recruit right. That's
Mhm,
on him and flirting with NFL. There's a whole bunch of factors, but I like Mullen's style because he had a little bit of the Spurrier flair in him. Because he'd like to take digs at the opponents, you
mhm,
know. And I don't think the admin necessarily stood behind him when he pointed out how A&M back in 2020, regardless of what you think, obviously did not keep a stadium at half capacity or distance and stuff. I mean, it was not. It was like a road game, and
mhm.
he took a shot at it. He said something, and he took grief after saying something. You know, but nobody had his back. Whereas when Spurrier came up, Spurrier said whatever the heck he wanted to,
He
and
sure did, and
he
I
did.
freaking loved it. I absolutely loved it. It seemed like no matter where you turned in the press, somebody had some hot take
Well, the
from
great thing is,
Steve
I'm sorry. Go
Spurrier.
ahead.
No, this someone always had some hot take from Steve Spurrier. But another thing about the Penn State University of Florida game that I thought was cool was that Steve Spurrier actually looked up to Joe Paterno.
Hmm.
So for him, it was like, I guess I would say, like game of a lifetime in a way, to get
Right.
to play against a football team of a coach that that you actually
Yeah.
that you admire. So
Was a legend. Yeah. I mean, on the field. Yeah. But yeah, I love Spurrier because he got in everybody's heads. I mean, especially the people in Tennessee love you, Geeky and Wade. But it's like the good old classic. You can't spell Citrus Bowl without UT. It's like, I just love the Spurrier. And you take the digs at Bobby Bowden.
Yes. Oh.
Any Georgia coach too, that because none of the Georgia coaches could beat Spurrier. But yeah, and Bobby, Bobby gave it back a bit too, but I think Spurrier got under his
He
skin.
did, but Spurrier just with him, the zingers never stopped.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because the Free Shoes University comment. Yeah. And we can touch on this a little bit too, specifically if we got memories of the Florida State series, because that's coming up this week. Is that has been a really dominant rival up until the last 2 years. Rivalry until the last 2 years. It's kind of lost its shine because back in the 80s and 90s it had national ramifications, but in about the last 10 or 15 years, either one or both of the teams have not been up at the top, and it's kind of lost a little of its luster. But you remember in those 80s and 90s, you had Deion Sanders, you had Danny Werfel, you had all these great players coming up in those years, and that rivalry was very heated. You remember, and in like 95, 96, the championship year for Florida was the game in Tallahassee that had FSU won 24-21, but their complaint was the whole time they were trying to hurt Werfel, twist his legs and stuff like that. And then they played in a neutral Superdome, and then of course Florida ran away in that game. But I'll let you think. I got one more, but if you is there anything that you can recall that stands out at you about the Florida State series? Because there's one that I gotta say, and you should remember this, and people, the familiar football should remember this. The choke at Doak. Florida was up 24-3 going into the fourth quarter. FSU scores 21 points in a row and ties the game at 24-24, back when you could have a tie in college football before overtime rules. That was one of the greatest comebacks and memories that I've had in the series.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and they called it. Just look it up with you can find video on YouTube. The choke at Doak. It was, and Spurrier and Bobby got him for it. It was a choke. Personally, though, my favorite memory was when I think it was probably the 81 game down in Gainesville. Florida won that game 35-3, and I remember my dad took me and we sat in the south end zone at almost field level. So, and I remember one of the touchdowns scored on the complete opposite north end zone. It was, just going to a game with my dad was special. So. But hey, then you got Tebow doing the chomp in the rain in Tallahassee.
Yeah, that. Ooh, yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
There is one other game, and bear with me a second, because like I said, I like watching football with my dad.
Oh, okay.
He passed away in 98. Sorry. The last game I ever got to watch with him was a Florida State game in 97. That was a year where Florida had two quarterbacks under Spurrier, Noah Brandeis and Doug Johnson. I remember all week the Seminole fans laughing and quacking about the Gators can't throw this, that, and the other stuff. That game was such a track meet back and forth. And FSU took a lead near the end of the game. And you think the game's over. Johnson goes back, throws a bomb downfield, hits Jackass Green for about 60 yards to like the 20-yard line. And then Fred Taylor runs it in. And the Gators end up winning a game that FSU fans thought they had in the bag. It was really bad that week, getting trash talk at work and stuff like that. But what a memory of a game in the swamp. And, it's like looking back, that was the last game my dad and I watched, was pretty damn special for, a final game,
That's a blessing. You got to watch that with him.
Yeah, absolutely. My mom left the house at halftime. She's like, y'all just too dang loud. I got to go. So, but hey, all right. Any other things with football memories you got, Lorena? Any other things you want to say with history of football?
No, just I remember having to be a cheerleader in crazy weather,
Yeah.
rain, snow, sleet,
You like the post office. You had to
pretty
go
much,
there
yeah.
in all kinds of weather. We'll all stick together. Yeah, there you go. We're the boys from Florida. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll go on, move on. Thank you. If anything else comes up, just feel free to shout it out, Lorena.
I will.
We'll take a look at the standings. This is not the college football playoff, but I focus on the AP poll and the coaches poll.
Hmm.
Looking at it again, once again, Georgia has all but one first place vote. Probably
Wow.
somebody from Ohio, obviously, that's holding out. Uh, Near unanimous. We had some changes with USC jumping LSU this week.
Hmm.
Clemson jumped Alabama. So your odds of a two-loss SEC team making a 14 playoff are looking bleaker. But then again, you need to follow the college football playoff. It's a little bit different. But overall, you see how it's positioned. A lot will be told this weekend. Ohio State,
Hmm.
Michigan play. TCU has a game this week and then plays Kansas State in a conference championship game next week. USC also has to play in a conference championship game. So all these things have to play out, and they could still lose. Clemson, with only their loss to Notre Dame, the question is, can somebody in the ACC beat them? The big matchup will be in the Southeastern Conference championship game a week from Saturday between Georgia and LSU. I've been suggesting that if LSU beats Georgia, the SEC gets two teams in.
Hmm.
Um, they'll take a one-loss defending Georgia team that's defending the national title. But if LSU loses, they're out. We'll not take a three-loss SEC team this year. Even as it looks, the other SEC teams with two losses could be on the outside unless these teams lose. But anything can happen in the next few weeks. We see Pac-10 teams. Also, besides USC, Oregon is it's 10th. Penn State is 11th. Washington from the Pac-10 12 is 9-2 at number 12. Florida State this week in AP poll is up to 16. Facing the Gators, who are unranked. You look around, Ole Miss is at 20th. So the SEC has 5 teams in the AP top 25. My Oregon State Beavers have moved up 3 spots to 22. Go Beavs, beat Oregon this week. So, like I said, there's a lot of national matchups coming up this weekend. Some very good rivalries. And we'll take a look at some of those here in the SEC, but some nationally are Ohio State, Michigan, which all in the recent years has always been for a playoff spot. Oregon State, the Civil War out in Oregon. UCLA and USC messed me up because they used to play the game this coming up week after Thanksgiving, but a few years ago they moved it up a week for whatever reason. There's something about having them on that holiday weekend, but they changed it. So we look at the coaches poll; it's very similar.
Georgia. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Georgia, TCU, USC, Ohio State, Michigan, LSU, Alabama. They're behind. So very similar polls. Of note, the Roadrunners of University of Texas San Antonio come in at 9-2 for the first time, along with Coastal Carolina.
Wow.
And the Beavers finally cracked this poll. So hey, always good news for one of my teams because mine in Gainesville is, I don't know, showed the best game the Gators played all year was the first game of the year. How about that?
Oh man,
beating Utah. It teased us so bad. But anyway, and also in this poll, 5 teams in the top 25. So, which leads us to this week's SEC games. So, I'm going to give us and Lorena, as I mentioned, if there's anything you want to comment on this part, we won't reveal our picks yet. We'll do that in the next section. But if there's anything I say with the background, or if there's anything that jumps out as you're thinking, memories or whatever, feel free to jump in, okay?
Okay, sure.
Okay. The first game of the week is known as the Egg Bowl. Mississippi State is at number 20, Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss leads the series 64 wins to 46 losses, 6 ties.
Mm-hmm.
The longest streak in the series for Ole Miss has been 6 wins in a row from 1930 to 1935. The largest margin of victory for Ole Miss was 48-0 back in 1971. Mississippi State's longest winning streak in the series is 13 games. Look, Lorraine, I wasn't around for even this one. Maybe Culture was, but 1911 to 1925. How about that? But yeah, that's an oldie but goodie. Their largest margin of victory in the series is 65-0. Currently, Ole Miss is on the 2-game winning streak in the series from 2020 to 2021. Would you like to take a guess at what year the first time these two schools met on the football field?
Mississippi State and Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm trying to guess here. What, like 1920?
October 28th, 1901.
Oh, okay. Well, it's only off by 19 years.
Yeah, very close, yeah. Mississippi State won that game 17-0. In the series, Ole Miss has actually won 6 of the last 10 games. Ole Miss comes in 8-3, 4-3 in the conference. Mississippi State is 7-4, 3-4 in the conference. So basically, if Mississippi State wins, they end up tied with Ole Miss this year. So if Ole Miss wins, they end up 2 games ahead of Mississippi State. But this is where I wish I was more brave with YouTube clips and stuff like that. And I'll get better one day. But I'll say this so that I meant to show you beforehand and I forgot. No, I showed you the other night. But to people out in the chat, look up the 2019 Egg Bowl Dog Pete incident. Ole Miss is driving, scores a touchdown, pulls to within 1. As the player crawls through the end zone, he goes and acts like a dog to a fire hydrant. 15-yard penalty, moves the extra point back. The kicker misses the extra point. Mississippi State wins the game. So go look at that video for yourself. I saw it live when it happened, and I was just sitting there.
Wow.
It was like, well, and it was hard. You just get caught up in the emotions, and especially in a rivalry game like that. And they really defended the player the next year. They said he grew up, he was a good leader and stuff like that. Because you do feel bad when something like that happens. It just was like, but still, it's one of those "what are you thinking" moments. So, but that's the history on Mississippi State and Ole Miss. So.
Well, you ready for my pick?
We'll get to the pick in just a moment. I'll finish these games. We're gonna make people wait just a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. Mrs. said 1908 on that. You're a little close. And E. Clay Thompson. Hey, glad you still. Yeah, he remembers that play. Bewildering. It is the oddest. It is bewildering is the right word for that, because you just sat there like, what did I just see that? But yeah. Okay, we're gonna be quick on this next one. Arkansas, Missouri, because I really don't even like Missouri in the big because they also give the Gators fits. But Arkansas comes in 6-5, 3-4 in the conference. Missouri comes in 5-6, 2-5 in the conference. Actually, Missouri leads the series 9 wins to 4. They've only played 8 times since Missouri joined the SEC back in 2012. And since then, Missouri leads the series 6 games to 2. So there's really not a lot of history in that one for that. And yes, go look. Mrs. put the link out there for YouTube. Ole Miss Egg Bowl. Go if you haven't seen it before, go watch it or watch it again, because you just it is true bewildering. I can't English tonight. Bewildering. Okay, enunciation.
They titled it "Old Piss."
Old Piss, yeah, exactly. That is exactly what you call it. Old Piss.
Oh God! Oh man, that's funny.
When
we get to my picks, you guys are gonna love my stories.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna get through this part. I'm gonna get through this part because I can't wait either. So, all Auburn plays at number 8 Alabama in the Iron Bowl. Bama leads the series 48 to 37-1. Bama's longest streak is 9 games from 73 to 30 to 1973 to 1981. Largest margin of victory for Alabama is 55-0 back in 1948. Auburn has won 6 games in a row in the series from 2002 to 2007. Largest margin of victory for Auburn has been 48-0 in 1895. Wow, that goes back a way. So with that in mind, Alabama has a current 2-game winning streak. So, Lorena, when do you think the first game in this series was played?
Arkansas at Missouri?
No, Auburn, Alabama.
Oh, sorry, Auburn, Alabama. Oh, man. Auburn and Alabama. 1905?
November 30th, 1893.
Daggone it.
Hey, the missus got it close.
1895. I knew it was going to be much earlier than Mississippi State versus Mississippi just because of that little thing called Reconstruction.
Yep.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a while. So it's either like around 1900 or right close to the turn of the century.
Absolutely. Well, Auburn comes in 5 wins, 6 losses, 2-5 in the conference play. Alabama comes in 9-2, 5 wins, 2 losses in the conference. What's notable about this series in 2013 was the field goal kick game is what you call it, where Alabama lined up for a game-winning field goal, but Auburn had placed a receiver under the goalpost. Auburn's kick ended up short.
Oh.
And the receiver took it 109 yards. Although officially you can only get up 100 yards in college football. NFL it would have been 109 yards, but 109 yards later, Auburn runs it back for a touchdown to beat Alabama in that game. That's another one that you're like, did I really see what I just saw? Yeah, in 1883, they had to ride to the game on horses. Yes. Carriages if they were lucky, you know. But yeah, this is a big series here. Especially a lot of hate here between Alabama and Auburn, a lot of bragging rights. So one of the best rivalries in all of college football. So, all right. That's it. That's the stats. That's the background with that one. We'll get to our picks in just a moment because I'm curious to see how you picked and why you picked. So the next is Georgia Tech at Georgia, number 1 Georgia. Georgia leads the series 69-41-5, ties the longest streak for Georgia, 7 games from 1991 to 1997. Largest margin of victory for Georgia was 2019, where they won 52-7. Georgia Tech has the longest streak as many years ago, 8 games from 1949 to 1956. The largest margin of victory for Georgia Tech was 48-0 in 1943. Currently, Georgia is on a 4-game winning streak in the series. And the first game in this series, you want to take a guess at this one, or you just want me to tell you?
I say tell me.
November 4th, 1893. Same year as Auburn and Alabama.
Wow.
Yep. In that game, Georgia Tech won 28-6. Georgia has won 17 of the last 20 games. And the Dogs come in 11-0, 8-0, undefeated, and Georgia Tech 5-6. So, and yes, Saban was not happy. Yes, he's not been happy this year, and he definitely was not happy after that field goal return. You don't see teams do that often, but since then they've started doing that. And on the really long field goals, especially near the end of the game, they'll put a receiver back in case it's short. So that's kind of interesting. Real quickly, we got Louisville and Kentucky. Louisville comes in 7-4. Kentucky 6-5. Kentucky leads overall 18-15. The first game was October 28th in 1912 when Kentucky won 41-0. You wonder why there's so few games, because they did not play from 1924 until 1994. The span of 30 years. Yes. You would think
why is that?
State. Yep, exactly. And Kentucky's won 3 in a row. And real quickly. Hi, Wade. Glad you were able to stop by. Go Gators. Yeah,
Hi, Wade. Yes.
we take all the support we can get these days.
Go Gators. That's right.
Absolutely. So we're going to get past Kentucky on that one. It's Bluegrass State is a lovely state to visit, but not necessarily the best football. We've got South Carolina at Clemson, another rivalry game. Out of conference, though, Clemson leads this one 72-42 wins for South Carolina and 4 ties. Clemson's longest streak has been 7 in this, from 34-40. Largest margin of victory was 51-0. South Carolina's longest winning streak in the series has been 5 games, and largest margins 56-20. The first game between these two teams was back on November 12th, 1896, when South Carolina won 12-6. So, hey, it's interesting when you look back at the dates when some of these series started. I mean, really a long time ago. And it's amazing it's not 3-3 games, or 6-0 games. You actually have some points in some of them. Clemson comes into this game 10-1. South Carolina is 7-4.
Okay.
Clemson has won 7 in a row, but before that, South Carolina won 5 in a row. So it seems to be on a trend of streaks right now. All right, we only got 3 more games. Then we're going to get to the picks. LSU at Texas A&M. LSU comes in 9-2, 6-1 overall. A&M's 4-7, 1-6 in the conference. The first time that they played was in December 2nd, 1899, when Texas A&M won that game 52-0. So I want to spend a little more time on the last 2 games because we got Tennessee fans here that lurk or chat and talk. So this week, the Battle of Tennessee. Number 9 Tennessee is at Vanderbilt. Tennessee leads the series 78 wins to 33 wins for Vanderbilt and 5 ties. Tennessee has a longest streak in the series was 22 games from 1983 to 2004. Largest margin of victory was 65-0 back in 1994 for the Volunteers. The longest Vanderbilt winning streak in the series was 9 games from 1901 to 1913. The largest margin of victory was 76-0 back in 1918. Currently, the streak is 3 games for Tennessee from 2019 to 2021. Okay, take a quick guess if you can. First game, what year?
Okay, I'll say like 1895.
Oh, October 21, 1892.
Oh, wow.
Very close. Very close. And guess what? Vanderbilt won this game, believe it or not, and they won it by a score of 22-4. 4. 4. 2 safeties. Yeah, 4. It's interesting. I remember a year when the Gators lost to Miami Hurricanes 31-4. 2 punts snapped out of the end zone. But hey, ouch. I digress. But listen, what's interesting is Vanderbilt won 11 of the first 12 games. The only game they did not win was a tie in the series. So, but now Tennessee has dominated, have won 11 of the last 16 games. So Tennessee comes in 9-2 in the overall, 5-2 in the conference, while Vanderbilt comes in with a shot to make 500 and become bowl eligible with a win at 5-6 and 2-5. So good luck, ball fans. And like I said earlier, the big news for Tennessee is that they lost Hendon Hooker for the season, the starting quarterback. Joe Milton now takes over, who was replaced by Hooker last year as a starting quarterback. So what looked like an easy win may not be such an easy win. I think it will come down to your quarterback play, really, is what it does. So, and I know Geeky says they think Vandy going to get us. I tell you what, honestly, I just said last week, don't worry about it, but losing Hooker and what happened at South Carolina, you definitely don't write anybody off if you're Tennessee this week. Which leads us to the last game. I know the one everyone's wanted, and we got to get to our picks. Florida at FSU. The Gators lead the series 37-26-2. The longest streak for the Gators was 9 games back in 1968-76. The largest margin for the Gator victory was 49-0 back in 1973. FSU's longest winning streak is 5 games from 2013 to 2017. The largest margin of victory, I remember this game very well, 52-17. I was watching Lawrence Dawsey run by the Gator secondary in 1988. Currently, the Gators are on a 3-game winning streak from 2018 to 2021. The first game of the series was November 22nd, 1958, when the Gators won 21-7. Because remember, FSU was previously a girls' university at that point, and then transitioned into a full university, and so the football program came along way later than the other rivalries we've seen. So Florida really had dominated the series until Bobby Bowden's arrival. Really, in the years from 1958 to 1976, it really was heavily Gators. But when Bobby Bowden came in, it changed pretty quickly. I mean, you kind of split first, but then you remember, like late 80s into the 90s, the FSU was winning quite a bit. And even probably Bobby Bowden was the one coach that had Steve Spurrier's number. So, one memory I had with this was I saw this game and I referred to earlier. CNU comes in ranked 16th in the AP poll at 8-3, and the Gators are 6-5. Anything you want to add to the Florida State real quick before we go into our picks, Marina?
You mean Florida versus that high school football program in Tallahassee?
Yeah. Or like I used to say, the girls' school.
Yeah. Not much to add. I have been raised knowing that rivalry. It's all about the Gators versus Florida State. It's probably the first true rivalry I became aware of when I started getting into football, mainly because of my relatives.
What's funny is for a number of years back in the 80s when Miami was dominant, they kind of got in the mix for a bit, but it kind of, as a Gator fan, I wish we had kept playing Miami, but they stopped. But Miami had it was like a 3-way rivalry at one point, and which I thought was fun, but but now Miami's like really irrelevant these days. So
yeah.
The other day, they couldn't even get 100 yards of offense in a game.
Oh, my gosh. Miami, y'all making The Rock look bad.
No, I know.
I'm just saying.
All right. Well, let's go into the pick time. I know you've been excited for this one, and I know everybody else wants to hear how you do it. But first, where we stand is currently Mrs. Dadman won last week, folks. Let's give her a hand and congratulate her.
Wow.
Went
Awesome.
8-2. Got the Arkansas over Ole Miss pick, our only disagreement. I ended up 7-3. I have currently a 5-game lead on the guest. As you see at the bottom, it was Miss's second appearance. But basically, what I want to say here is just go back. The season's over. Go back and watch some of these shows. If you watch them again, because really, don't worry about all the stats and the numbers and stuff, because what's happened has happened. But everyone had a different story to tell, different stories to tell, different methodologies of picking and stuff. Like the Misses the first week had bands and did a point scale system to pick her teams and stuff like that. It was really neat. The second week, Squeak and Mouse used cheese to pick the winners. The next week, Mark D with a C with his engineering skills went 12-0. He'll tell you about that all the time. And the only perfect week we've had, and then Culture Casino came in. He picked by the book. We separated by 1 game. Rambling Canuck was a great one. I mean, you want to hear the talks about business, that was a go back and watch our discussion with Culture. Rambling Canuck came in, talked about Canadian football versus American football. Go watch that. And he showed video of his son playing football. Gen X had his stories. Clobbering Times was here with us, and he shared a lot of the stuff from the NFL side. Our friend Esh Singh came through and used dice like D&D dice and rolled like forever many times. And he did really, really well. It was really interesting to see. And
All
then our
right.
friend Rupa Trupa came through, had a good week, and then of course Ang a couple weeks ago and the misses last week. So that's where we stand. And yes, Squeaka, thank you. Yes, I was honored with Squeaka on that week, and that weekend her dad also picked against me too. And it was a real tribute and real treat to have had that opportunity to pick against two people. And, wonderful. And howdy back to you, Squeaka. So let's get to it. Here we go, Lorena. Do you want me to reveal your pick first, or do you want to say what your methodology first?
Well, I'll let you first reveal my picks, but I'll just say my methodology is pretty haphazard.
Hey,
but it works for me.
Hey, well, haphazard sampling, I'm used to using that, so we'll see. So your first pick in the Mississippi State at Ole Miss is Mississippi State.
Yes, Mississippi State. The reason why, very, very selfish reason, because I had an ex-boyfriend who went to Ole Miss. So Mississippi State on this one.
Oh, that you remember the video that Mrs. put the link in from the 2019 Mississippi game with the dog fire hydrant? You could probably just call it. A friend and I always called Ole Miss Ole Piss anyway, so that was perfect. So
that's why I was laughing so hard.
Mrs. says that's a valid reason.
Thank you.
Exactly.
I thought so.
No reason for you to call Ole Miss Ole Piss anyway. So hey,
there you go.
Perfect. Exactly. You got a lot of support out there. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, then I'm going to go with Ole Piss. Hey, why not? Just to be different, but Ole Miss should win this game at home. I mean, you look at Mike Leach's offenses, but I tell you what, I'm not confident in this pick, even though they're at home, because there's constant rumors about Lane Kiffin going somewhere else. And anytime you have a coach with that situation, it can be a distraction. Look, Ole Miss lost last week to Arkansas. Who knows with this? And hottie potty. That's a good one. Yeah, because it's not the school with the hottie toddy, but yeah, the hottie potty. Yeah, Ole Piss. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, I'm so glad all y'all are here. We still got 7 here watching with us.
All right.
Follow us on the Twitch side and like and subscribe on the YouTube side, because I have actually said that if we can get 100 on this YouTube side, I'll do a 24-hour stream. So if Aang can do it, I can do it, I think.
You can do it.
Yes. All right. So let's go to the game of the week. I don't like Arkansas and Missouri. So Lorena, you take Missouri.
Yes. I picked Missouri. Why did I pick Missouri? Just to be honorary, because the headquarters for Walmart is in Arkansas, Bentonville, Arkansas. So hence I am going to go with Missouri. My other underlying reason would have been quite political, but hey.
Oh, I got I got you. Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh well, I will make up the other side to keep those people happy. I take Arkansas, so at least we're split on that.
Well, you heard the joke, right?
What's the joke?
There's a joke that says, how do you know that the toothbrush was invented in Arkansas?
Oh no, how?
Because if it was invented somewhere else, it would have been called a teeth brush.
Oh man, okay. All right.
One of my engineering professors who went to Arkansas told that joke.
See, I would label that to Kentucky or Tennessee personally, but yeah, Arkansas, it fits. So don't shoot me, Geeky. Okay. Mrs. loves your reasoning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Exactly. And they love your joke too. So, okay. One of the big games of the week, the Iron Bowl, Auburn at Alabama. The great Lorena takes Bama. Any particular reason?
I don't like Auburn.
Okay.
I just don't. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with Alabama. I have Alabama relatives. They do not like Auburn, so I got to go with the fam, Alabama, on this one.
Yeah. Let me, before I say my pick, Clay Thomason says, "The Hogs are my team. I'm born and reared in Arkansas. Watch your mouth, Trail."
Like I said, got born and bred in Arkansas, made that joke. I love you, dude.
I love this. Okay. I know. I have all my teeth. That's probably shot at me for throwing Tennessee out there. And then this is because Auburn has 2 U's in it. Wow. Thank you, chat. That was awesome. Oh, gosh. So, insulting anybody from the state of Alabama, I'm going to go with Alabama also.
There you go.
Too much. And the problem is Auburn changes coaches like they do underwear. Like they get a coach that wins a national title 3 years later, he's gone because he hadn't won it again, and it's just
wow.
And just this last coach they fired 2 weeks ago, he barely finished last year his first season, and they were already wanting to fire him. It's talk about the pressure, and like I said earlier about Texas A&M, about the boosters with the money. Same thing out Auburn, and it's amazing the way they throw money at so much. You got to pay the other guy millions of dollars to go, and then to pay the other guy to come in. That's a different discussion that you can have with, how money's thrown around that. So yeah, Squeaky likes to. You're on fire tonight, Lorena, like you always are. And braces are expensive. Damn it. Yep, I know that. I put 2 kids through braces. So, all right, Georgia Tech at Georgia. You took Georgia Tech, so
yes, I did.
Yes. What?
Why did I pick Georgia Tech?
Yeah.
Because of this one line. I'm a rambling wreck from Georgia Tech and a hell of an engineer.
There you go.
I got to go with Georgia Tech.
All right. Engineers stick together. So I always pains me to take the dogs, but yeah, the dogs are at home. It's what it is. But hey, you never know. Maybe Georgia Tech will pull a Vanderbilt. You never know.
All I know is word of advice. If you know anyone who lives in Georgia, do not try to contact them while this game is on. Yes. You will get put on the short list, and that's not a good thing.
Yes. It's been one that's been dominated so much by the dogs in recent years, but it is a very heated rivalry of a lot of hatred between the two schools. And really Athens and Atlanta are not that far apart. So it's got the natural rivalry built up in there, but which I could really embarrass both of my kids right now, but I'm probably better off not to do that right now. So I'll just move on. So it's crazy.
I will say Georgia does have a very, very cute mascot.
The live one or the costume?
The live one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The costume one is cool too.
Yeah.
But the live one is the one though.
Yeah. Have you ever seen it where they have him with the doghouse and they got the bag of ice for him to lay on and stuff?
Yes, I have seen that.
Yeah.
And I think the name is Uga, and it's like certain generations of them. Yes, that is one pampered doggy.
Oh, Geeky's throwing some smack down to Georgia as a Tennessee fan for a little sarcasm. And I guess I did the right decision not to embarrass my kids. So, okay. Oh boy, that's a great story. But anyway, we'll go forward. So hey, Georgia Tech, that's cool. Okay, Louisville at Kentucky. Lorena takes Kentucky. Another one I could embarrass my kids on, but I won't. But hey,
Yeah, this one pretty much was a toss up to me. So I just kind of went with Kentucky. Probably because my vehicle was built in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just went with Kentucky.
That's awesome. Okay, that works. I like to hear the different methodologies. So, and I agree with you on that one. Kentucky, especially with their defense, should be able to stop Louisville. Question is how much offense Kentucky can generate. Which leads us to the last 4 games of the week. We have South Carolina at Clemson, and you take Clemson.
Yes, I did. I picked Clemson. I actually like Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, their school just looked cooler.
Yeah. They came here once for a bowl game, and they got a good band. They got a good fans. They used to hang out like almost every third year in Jacksonville for the Gator Bowl. Clemson. I mean, there at one point. So, but hey, I agree with you, Clemson again. South Carolina had a great week last week, but they were at home. But I will tell you, Clemson's shown some vulnerability this year. If South Carolina plays any half of what they did last week, which I don't expect them to, because usually when you play that well, you stink the next week.
Mm-hmm.
They could give Clemson a challenge because Clemson's struggled some at home too, but don't expect it. So, okay. Well, the last 2 of the last 3 are actually within the conference. LSU at Texas A&M, and you take Texas A&M.
Yes.
Okay.
I did. Yes, I did. Texas A&M, because all of my schools have had a serious rivalry with LSU. So I'm going with Texas A&M.
Okay. And they're at home, and they've one thing with A&M is generally they played good defense until they played Florida, which gave us false sense about the Gators. But strong defense depends on how much offense. I took LSU on the road, but this could be a trap game. A&M could pull this off, so we shall see. All right, the last 2 games of the week that people I know in the chat have a vested interest in. I know we have a Tennessee fan, and I know I have somebody that cheers for Vanderbilt as much as she can. So let's see who you took in this matchup, and you took Vanderbilt.
Yes, I did. I picked Vanderbilt on this one because, again, Tennessee is yet another school that one of my alma maters have a rivalry with. So I will actually bite the bullet and pick Vanderbilt for this one.
Wow, and listen, the Geeky has said next one, Vandy, and the missus says Vandy. I should have picked. I know. Listen, I've been frustrated. There were a couple games in Vanderbilt I took this year. They lost. So it's like they were – and then leave it to Florida to be even more unpredictable than Vanderbilt. So, but it's hard to pick a team like that. But I will say I am going with the Volunteers still. Even with a new quarterback, but he's had playing experience. They have great wide receivers, especially Squirrel White. He's like one of the backups went down the roster, but how can you not love a name Squirrel? And how did he get the name Squirrel?
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, because all I can think of is Earl the Squirrel is now playing football for Tennessee and in Orlando, It's like, oh no, Kiki's like, he was a Tennessee fan going with Vandy. LOL. Yeah. I understand. I've had that mode for Florida at times. So anyway, that should be a great game of the week. That is an important game because if Vanderbilt wins, they're bowl eligible. I predicted them maybe we'd win 2 games this year, but the end of 5, congratulations for them. They're so close. Why not win one more and make a bowl game for them, which would be really an outstanding turnaround in 2 years for that program.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads us to the game of the week. While you're here, You are the guru of Florida. You are the queen of Florida. And listen, always Lorena's Sunday night show at 8 p.m. The Welcome to Florida show, all things Florida, are with Lorena Creole. So here you go, Florida at Florida State, and you picked FSU. Wow.
I did. What was wrong with me? Oh, wow. I really should have double checked. Oh, no, that's an error. That one's
Did you
on
want to
me.
take Florida? I'll give you Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you
Yeah.
take Florida. Okay. Ignore that. She takes
That's
Florida.
a weird one. You know what? I probably wasn't thinking when I had something.
It's okay. It happens. So, but anyway, I was going to agree with you, but either way, I'm taking the Gators. So I'm taking God, I just screwed that up. I got flipped back. No, I'm taking the Seminoles. Oh, I so bad. I flipped my pick there too. We both flipped. But no,
Oh,
I am taking Florida State in this game. I just don't trust the Gators. Just been too. Uh-oh. Okay. Oops. It's okay.
that's all right.
It's okay. We got it fixed. It's all good. We know what Lorena wanted to pick. So, but yeah, I did take. What would you? What did you for what? What did you take the Gators in this game?
Because the Gators are just my team.
Yeah.
You know, it's that one pick where I just out of loyalty, I'll just go with the Gators.
I got you. I got you. I understand that. Many times I hit the same thing, but I think this week FSU's had a much better year than in the past, and just trying to look at it objectively. Had Florida beaten Vanderbilt, I would have taken Florida, but I've seen too much inconsistency from this team this year I'll still cheer for them Friday, but also, they moved the game to Friday nights now.
Really?
At least in Tallahassee. Yes, it is Friday at 7:30. That is such a
That makes no sense.
It does not. I think still when it's in Gainesville, it's on Saturday, but for whatever reason, FSU and the ACC have moved it to Fridays when it's in Tallahassee. So I don't understand it. But yeah, so if you want to watch the game, make sure you watch Friday, not Saturday. Saturday will be too late. So, and hey, Geeky's got a compliment for you that you're a better fan than she is. Tennessee's going to choke. So. I understand that. That's crazy with that, but it's all fun. We'll see. I'll do a recap show Sunday and see update everybody on my picks, on Lorena's picks, and overall with the guests. And we had fun. Lorena, do you have any other closing thoughts with football before we start to close up?
No, this was just a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, something different to talk about on stream. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and actually encouraged me to start paying a bit more closer attention to college football.
It's always fun. It's a fun and an adventure. So, okay. Well, on that note, I'll if you want to stay, I'll just leave you here with me while I pitch out, if you don't mind.
No worries. Sure.
Thank you, Geeky. Yeah, Geeky was on Sunday night with me with our last week's recap. Yeah, it definitely is a blast. And you know your football, lady. You do know your football. So with that, we will pitch it to this. The next week, the day is probably going to be normal time, Thursday at 8, I think. But there's still some things pending. But next week, we'll have a conference championship special. We'll look at the SEC conference championship game between Georgia and LSU. We may look at some of the other conference title games around the country, but join us for that and some talk and some special time together. And it'll be the last week of college football before the postseason, before bowl game seasons and the playoffs happen. We also anticipate having some specials around the bowl games and the playoffs games. So
Okay.
keep an eye out for that for down the road, because I will tell you that the best way to keep up with us is on Twitter, and I'll give the link in just a second. But before next week, before the bowl games, before national playoffs, Thanksgiving comes up Thursday. I wish everybody a wonderful Thanksgiving, however you celebrate, whatever you do. We're going to go to my sister's with my mom and have some fun and eat food and come back in the nighttime for what else do I do? Fortnite. So join us turkeys for some Fortnite fun Thursday, Thanksgiving evening at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. The missus and I will be there. We'll probably have a few others play with us. And what better way to work off all the turkey than sitting in a chair playing video games? So anyway, hope to see you there too. So a lot of fun will be had. And as I said, we'll look at, if you want to follow me, the latest information you get is on Twitter at DadmanWalking55. I'm over on Twitch at DadmanWalking55 and on YouTube also at DadmanWalking55. Got the at now, but try to make it easy with all the same titles. But as I said earlier, thank you for watching. Thank you for lurking. On YouTube, you leave a like and a comment and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And on Twitch, follow us there. And, hopefully you enjoyed some stuff. And like I mentioned, go back and look at what's on the channel, not just the football streams. And as I mentioned, look at what our guests had talked about more. Those are some fascinating stories. Look at really fast. Every person had some great stories, from a female playing football to barbecue, and it's just so many different stories. I just encourage you to go back and watch them. But I also have some show and tells with different things. Universal Monster glasses that I did with Purple Valkyrie, and the original Rides glasses and stuff too with her. I've done some show and tells with hurricane charts that were metallic and things. So, and we're planning is to roll more content that's not football or Fortnite out there as time allows. Because I tell you, you hear people talk or content creators that you don't have enough time. Even if you're a small guy like me, there's not a lot of time between the day job and this stuff. And I have to always shout out to Mrs. Dadman Walking, because I could not do it without her support and time that she dedicates to these graphics that you've seen tonight. So that's it. And Lorena, how's the best way people follow you?
Well, of course, you can follow me on Twitter. That's like the best way to follow me. You can also find me over on Instagram. And of course, you can find me on YouTube during various videos and live streams. And thank you so much again, Dadman, for having me on your show. This was a ton of fun.
Absolutely, as always. I hope to do it again soon. And thanks. And I thank you to everybody that's been in the chat. I don't think I can get everybody necessarily, but thank you for all of you that came through, those that lurked and everything else. And thank you for your support. Look forward to seeing you hopefully Thursday night, passing through the Fortnite turkey stream and the upcoming postseason specials. And yeah, so bye everybody. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.